Greetings and salutations, everyone, and welcome to another installment of An Old Testament Academic Reacts. Today, I thought that I would just share some opinions and thoughts and the story behind the Mount Ebal cursed tablet, and is it really an earth-shattering discovery, or is it nothing more than sensationalism? In a word, no. This is not a discovery that is going to change the course of biblical archaeology in the slightest. It is sensationalism at its very core here. But first, let's answer the question, what is a cursed tablet? Well, simply put, it is a tablet on which a curse is written. Simple enough, I guess. Some examples would be, may you always be one step behind, or, if you retrieve my stolen cloak and boots, I will dedicate them to you, and let the thief who took them pay for them with his blood. Cursed tablets, of course, were used throughout the ancient Mediterranean world to curry favor with the gods, to perform an action on someone or something. Some examples of cursed tablets include the Voces Mysticae and the execration texts in Egypt, which first appeared in the 12th dynasty. Now, the Voces Mysticae is similar to things that I said above, but the execration texts are slightly different. These are lists of names of enemies written on clay figurines, after which they would be ceremoniously broken. So, the background of the tablet is not really complicated, but it is, I don't even know how to describe it, really. Well, let's just dive into it, shall we? So back in the 1980s, a man by the name of Adam Zertal began excavations at the site on Mount Ebal near the ruins of ancient Shechem. While excavating, he discovered a large rectangular altar dating to the late 13th century BCE. Now, what is fascinating and interesting here about this is not just the discovery of one altar. No, he also discovered a round, smaller altar that he dated to around 25 years before the outer altar. So fast forward roughly 38 years, almost approximately 40 years, Stripling and his team are at the same site, and they're examining discarded material from his excavation, which ultimately led to the discovery of a folded lead tablet that fits into the palm of your hand. That's how small it is. So, after this discovery, they ran some tests and scans of the tablet, and they ran these scans in order to clarify the boundaries of the tablet, to do an optical digital photogrammetry method to reconstruct the tablet's surface. Now, to find the letters, though, his team generated some planar tomographic slices that are shown above. Those are those two images you see on your screen. The deformation of the tablet makes it difficult to identify the letters, though. So virtual suppression of the tablet deformation or deformation was performed so the characters can become more visible. They also performed X-ray tomography in an effort to reconstruct the hidden text. And the results of this analysis revealed a formulaic curse written in proto-alphabetic script dating to the late Bronze Age. I don't think I really have to go into what the actual text says, but suffice it to say, it's like a chiasm, so it's ABC, CBA form. And it's a cursed tablet, so it's cursed are you, and so on and so forth. So, next, I said in the previous slide here that there was some sensationalism going on, and I think this is very telling here. So, the big point is, this is again Dr. Stripling talking here. The big point here is that we have evidence of Hebrew writing in Israel earlier than has previously been established, as well as mentioning two names of the Hebrew God Yahweh, all from the site where the Bible said Joshua built an altar. His claims don't stop there, though. And I think what is more telling, however, is Stripling's claim on the Associates for Biblical Research website, in which he says that the ramifications of this cursed tablet from Mount Ebal, the mountain of the curse, are enormous. First, it synchronizes with the account of the covenant renewal ceremony found in Joshua 8. Secondly, it proves that there was an alphabetic script with which Moses and Joshua could have written the earliest biblical books. Thirdly, it dismantles the documentary hypothesis, which claims that the scribes wrote different portions of the early biblical writings centuries apart. The aftershocks of this find will reverberate for decades. Again, it's nothing more than sensationalism, and I think we'll find out a little later that no, they will not reverberate through the decades. Interestingly, though, Stripling also claimed in an interview with Dr. Sean McDowell on his channel that this alphabetic script is not just proto-alphabetic or proto-Sinaitic, but states basically that no one has the guts to call it Proto-Hebrew. And Stripling claims that the text is the oldest Hebrew text found within the borders of ancient Israel by at least 2 centuries. Now, what is telling about this, too, is that after making that claim, Stripling goes on to say that it is risky because the Canaanites also used the same alphabetic script. And I think that's problematic for his case as well, because if other people groups are using the same script for their language, you cannot quite call it a Proto-Hebrew script. You still have to err on the side of caution and say it's a Proto-Alphabetic or Proto-Sinaitic script. But he goes on here and he says, we have a Hebrew inscription of a curse found on the mountain of curses. And this is, I'm sorry, this is Peter van der Veen, who says, we have a Hebrew inscription of a curse found on the mountain of curses. And I think the conclusion we reached last year is now confirmed by more in-depth study. If you guys don't know, Peter van der Veen is the epigrapher, and he's associate professor at Johannes Gutenberg University in Mainz, Germany. So, moving on here. Let's talk about what the scans actually revealed here. I think the first problem with the scans is that they are simply illegible. There's a picture here that reveals the signs and symbols discovered when the scans were brought to light. So, and no scholar can make heads or tails of the characters on this tablet. It just looks like a gigantic mess. Dr. Chris Rolston chimes in here and states that the published images reveal some striations in the lead and some indentations. That is, lead, of course, quite soft, and so such things are understandable. But there are no actual discernible letters. To surmise here, this article is basically a textbook case of the Rorschach test, and the authors of this article have projected upon it a piece of lead that things they want it to say. And I think that's exactly, I couldn't agree with Dr. Rolston here anymore. I think that's what they were doing, is that they wanted to see it, they saw it, and then they translated that to the press, and then this peer-reviewed article in a science journal, which is also problematic, but we'll get there later. He goes on to say, though, Rolston says that facts are facts, and this article is very short on facts and very long on boundless speculations. The readings in this article are basically a chimera. So Rolston clearly does not align with Stripling and his team, along with other academics. So it's not looking very good. One of the problems that I personally have, another Old Testament academics or just biblical scholars in general have with this is that they were breaking an academic taboo. For those of you guys, for those who don't know what I mean by this, normally in academia, when there is a discovery, the proper channels are to submit a peer review, an article to a peer-reviewed journal, or at a conference, say SBL in this case, the Society for Biblical Literature, after which they go to the press. This process was disrupted, however, when Stripling and his team went to the press first and then went to a peer-reviewed journal. Additionally, they didn't even release the scans last year, which is also problematic. But the problem, however, isn't so much the scans here, although that was a problem. The problem was that the journal that they submitted their article to is neither an historical journal nor an archaeological journal. It's a science journal. So, and Stripling stated that he decided to, but before that, Stripling gave his reasons why he decided to go through the press first. He states that, he says that he went through the press first because he thought researchers might try to steal or take the credit for the discovery, which personally I think that's an utterly ridiculous claim. I don't think any academic, any scholar would actually try to steal that. It seems preposterous, ridiculous, whatever kind of label you want to add to it. So he goes on to say, though, that he released the photos of the outside of the tablet, not knowing there was writing on the inside as well. He also showed them to some friends who published the photos on his social media accounts. And at least he takes fault here. He says, it was my fault. Once those photos were out, people started to decipher the letters on the outside. So because of that, we have the press conference because we had to stake out, this is our inscription academically. And again, if he had just gone through the proper channels, everything would have gone over smoothly, maybe even not make sensationalist claims, which really was problematic and divisive. So my final thoughts here on this, I think the scans do not really reveal anything as we've seen. I think that's very obvious. The images in the 3D scans disclose indistinguishable signs and symbols that are rather illegible and indiscernible, as Rolston claims. So, despite the tomography and the epigraphy, the epigraphy is just horrendous. It's awful. And the scans simply don't reveal anything extraordinary or earth-shattering. Again, nothing will change the course. This find or discovery will not change the course of biblical archaeology. I think it is rather clear that the tablet also does not in fact synchronize with the account found in Joshua 8, simply because you cannot read the inscription. Thirdly, because you cannot read the description, this discovery does not dismantle the documentary hypothesis, because the signs are simply illegible no matter what direction you take it, no matter what spin, no matter how you manipulate the text, no matter how much you try to change it, it just simply isn't there. And finally, although there is going to be a second peer-reviewed article scheduled for next year, yes, I say scheduled, sorry, followed by a conference discussing the find. Although that is going to happen, I think they're going to receive further backlash from academia and from other biblical scholars in the process. So, there you go, guys. That is my short take on the Mount Ebal curse. Thank you for watching, and if you do like this sort of content, please click the like button and subscribe. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.